welcome back to another episode of For the Record, the 8th episode in this new iteration. I just want to establish that I was correct last week when doing the...
What was that? I'm glad we have this on camera.
I had on my notes it was episode 8, and he said, oh, it's 7. Uh-huh. And when I look back, the reason why we missed an episode along the way, and I had notes on it, so that's why I was one ahead. So Matt was right.
Yeah, I just wanted to.
Okay.
I just
it doesn't
wanted
happen
to.
Is that why you said
just wanted to humble brag when I am correct, huh?
You were like, you texted me. You were like, I finished the 7th episode of the podcast.
Oh yeah, it was. I was like emphatically. I was like, oh, the 7th episode of this podcast has now been completed.
Thanks for keeping me straight, Matt.
Absolutely, and from. Anyway, Senator Brian Towns, bro, God.
Oh, I hope he watches this podcast and just heard that.
All right, I'm
my own person.
All right, I'm going to start that over.
No, it stays. It stays.
I vote it stays too. We can vote.
Brian Pettyjohn, the Republican whip.
Just don't call me Jesse.
It might be my last episode. I might be getting kicked off. And, of course, our great chief of staff, who 99.6% of the time is right, but was not last week, Deanna Killen.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You sure we're keeping all that in?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yes.
All right.
Yes, let's do it.
Let's actually talk substantive stuff there,
okay.
Deanna.
All right, let's start it. Let's start with what we had on the agenda today. Senate Bill 4, Senator Sturgeon. The bill would create an Office of Inspector General.
Yep.
So this passed unanimously. And now it will be headed to the House for a committee meeting over there. So what are your thoughts on an Office of Inspector General?
Obviously, I support it since I was, both on the bill and voted yes. This is something that Senator Bonini tried to do years ago. Yep. And, just as it was really more of the true watchdog agency for state government here in Delaware, and not just state government. They could, based on what's in the bill, county government, towns, things like that, where colleges, where there is any type of misconduct by government officials at any level. That they can investigate those and refer them over to the Attorney General's office for prosecution, not just financial, other type of misconduct as well. And, whenever you have a transparent government that is accountable, I think that's a good thing. And, I'm pretty sure that, if this office is able to work like the bill intends, that it will more than pay for itself, in years to come.
Yeah, Senator Sturgeon did a really good job putting this together.
She did.
Making sure it was very nonpartisan and was kind of, that this person, I think it's a 2/3 vote if this, by both chambers, if for some reason they wanted to try to remove the Inspector General.
Yep.
It's very detailed. Maybe we can put some information or a link about the bill up. But she did a great job. We even had a couple members who were unsure going into session today, but when she stood up and explained everything,
she did a great job.
She did.
She really did. She was very surprised. Her and I were talking. After the vote, she said, were you sandbagging? Because she asked me, how our caucus was, and I said we were kind of split. We had questions.
Yeah.
And I pretty much said, look, the presentation you gave, the way you explained the bill, won over the people that were on the fence. So, she did a good job.
And Matt, you looked at me when I said colleges. I know that wasn't mentioned today, but in committee that was mentioned. She had said that University of Delaware, any money that they would receive from the state, could be audited if necessary.
Yeah.
I know some of the, I don't want to say detractors, but people who, like you said, were maybe on the fence kind of asked, well, we already have a state auditor. So where would this be different? Like why for the potential overlap here?
Because the technical term for that office is auditor of accounts. So it really has to do with financial dealings in the state. The Inspector General is not limited just to financial. So when you have performance, when you have other misconduct or malfeasance or misfeasance within state government, that office could go and investigate those types of things as well. So not just limited to financial type transactions.
Very good.
Yeah.
Right, and 36 states have inspector generals.
Some have multiple.
Yes, I think we saw, Florida has like 50?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's both red and blue states, so this isn't a partisan office, and it's clearly not meant to be with the whole purpose of it. So we'll keep everyone posted on that. It should have a House committee meeting when we return after our break.
Yep.
Another bill today that passed, which we didn't have full support on, was Senate Bill 10. This, of course, was Senate Substitute 1 to Senate Bill 10. We talked about this in one of our earlier episodes. It has to do with compassionate release. I had concerns with this. Sounds like a lot of the same concerns that some of you expressed as well. Removes the Board of Parole from the process that allows and it allows individuals to petition directly to the courts for compassionate release. Of course, it has, I can go over if you want me to, the reasons why. One of the reasons that Matt and I were discussing earlier that is really concerning to me is the application for a sentence modification, this is one of the reasons, is based solely on a person's serious medical illness or infirmity. So solely, to me, that is literally the only thing. So if someone has stage 4 cancer, they're considered terminal. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're bedridden and you can't go and do anything.
Right.
So someone who still could walk about and could be healthy for another several months to really, with medical advancements today, who knows how long. That's the only condition that they're basing this on. They don't have to be rehabilitated as well. Is that how you read this?
That's how I read it. They could still be a danger. They could still be a danger to society, but because they are in the last years of their lives, that we would go ahead and grant them the release. And there's public safety concerns for that, of course. Now, we hope that doesn't happen, but that possibility is there. And also, look, we already have a court system that is overburdened right now. So as this process would work, even for the other portion of the release, the person that's in prison could petition the court. Now there's a couple kind of filters that go into this first. Office of Defense Services, Public Defender's Office reviews it, as well as the Department of Corrections, to make sure that they meet at least the statutory requirements for them to go through the process. If they go through that process, then it goes to the court to take a look. And then you have the Attorney General's office that gets to weigh in, and then you have the Office of Defense Service, which really serves as legal counsel and advocates on behalf of the individuals that are in prison to get the early release. So both of those, or all of those areas, Department of Correction for the pre-filtering, the Office of Defense Services, the Attorney General's office, and then the courts who have to actually adjudicate this are overburdened as it is. Now, it was made clear that these types of petitions wouldn't push aside, other petitions or other cases that are in the court system. So,
I don't see how that's possible.
Well, I mean, look, they have to give preference to the constitutional rights of a speedy trial. So, if they've got full dockets of criminal matters, they can't bump one of those in order to hear one of these cases.
So the purpose of not using, one of the reasons for not using the Board of Parole is because of time.
I know, and
so it doesn't make much sense.
It doesn't make much sense. Senator Townsend also mentioned the fact that the fiscal note would probably be higher if we used the Board of Parole as well. I'm not sure how that would work, but there were enough concerns that most of us didn't feel comfortable with voting the bill. We had one of our caucus members that did. But it's just a matter. There were more concerns that were raised as some of the questions and the testimony happened on the floor.
Because ODS, which Office of Defense Services, that was one of the back and forth you were having. He admitted that they are ethically obligated to advocate for the client.
Right.
So even to me, that says even if they don't agree that this person should petition the court,
they have to argue on their behalf.
Absolutely, that's dangerous.
It is, and that could add to some of the burden that's in the court system right now in the Attorney General's office as well. So, those are some of the concerns that, as the testimony, as the questioning on the floor proceeded, that we just had more and more questions that made us feel less comfortable about voting for the bill.
Yeah, and we all support someone who has been rehabilitated to be able to have early release if that is what DOC thinks, and there is a process in place for that already.
And that is one thing I wanted to mention, that our caucus over the past number of years have voted for and advocated for pieces of legislation that offered second chances to individuals who, like you said, were incarcerated and maybe in rehab and had certainly, they deserve a second chance, right?
Yeah.
And even I think in this case, certainly we want to be sympathetic to those who maybe in a scenario that you outlined are maybe facing their last days. And so I know obviously, like you said, one of our members did vote for it, and I think he certainly erred on that side.
Right.
The sympathy and the second chance.
Right.
So we'll just have to see. First, it still has to clear the House, which I think suspect
I think it will. Yeah.
But definitely something to keep an eye on in the future as this becomes law and is actually put into place.
Yeah.
And maybe I watch too many crime dramas, but I feel like if someone is terminal and that's the only thing we're basing release on, they have nothing to lose. So how do we know we don't have someone released from prison who has a vendetta? They're in their dying days. What is to stop them from carrying out some type of act of violence?
Part of our
It's
job
concerning.
part of our job is to think of the what ifs that could be out there.
Yeah.
So, and that is, a valid concern.
Yeah. I could not have voted for the bill if I were a legislator, so I would have been a no.
Yep.
Something a little less emotional. HB 90 passed today, which a lot of Sussex County people would be interested in, which you were the sponsor of that bill.
Yep. So that removes the enrollment cap for Sussex Tech High School. A number of years ago, Sussex Tech was in the news. There were a lot of people unhappy that they felt that Sussex Tech went away from the vocational technical type education and was more of a college prep type school. And, in recent years, they've reversed that trend, really have engaged the community, the other schools. They've repaired a lot of the relationships with the school districts in Sussex County and have really gotten back to their core focus on providing the skills to, the high school students so that they can go right into the workforce. There are some tracks that they have where the students go into college, of course, but every one of them that leave that school and graduate can go right into the workforce with the certificate or the skills that they learned there from Sussex Tech. So they're doing a much better job there now.
And this would be based on certificate of...
The certificate of need.
So that would be when the new building is done and they have the room. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. That was my question.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's based on the certificate of need that is currently issued to the school, and right now it's for the current. They have a capacity currently, and they can't go over that capacity. But when that new school gets opened, they'll be able to fully have that school full, and it's going to be a great school.
Yeah, I know lots of parents who have kids on the Sussex Tech wait list right now who will be very happy to hear this.
Yeah.
All right, HB 133 was in House Committee yesterday, and this is one of those, another bill where we're going to make everyone else pay. It was reported out of committee, headed to the House for a full vote, and what it does is it allows certain fees and fines that defendants or people would get for committing all types of crimes. It would basically, if you were unable to pay, then judicial discretion would be allowed to basically waive all of your fines and fees. And those fines and fees, as we know, go to support things such as the ambulance services, which they do.
Transportation Trust Fund.
Yeah, they oppose the bill, of course. They did exempt the Victims' Compensation Fund.
Oh, good.
But so that was a good thing. So there was a lot of good debate in committee. Representative Cook, who was a Democrat and former law enforcement, he really spoke up with passion. He's like, when are we going to start holding people accountable? He's like, we're just not holding people accountable anymore. And then he told a couple stories about, things that he dealt with as a law enforcement officer. So it was kind of good to hear him say that. But again, there's no accountability, and someone's going to have to pick up, this. If they're not paying it, who's going to pay it?
Yeah. I love it when we see these. I was just pulling up the fiscal note to see what the fiscal note and the impact would be. Indeterminable,
Yeah.
which means they don't know how much it's going to cost.
So they did say that using the fiscal year 2024 collections data, I guess 40% of the collections, which is all that would be eligible for this particular waiver it was $6,173,000, but that full amount, that's not the full amount. It would be whoever in that category is eligible for this. It would be considered low income or whatever this criteria would be. So that's why they said it was indeterminable. But one of the expert witnesses did say that fines and fees are not necessarily an inappropriate punishment, or they're not an appropriate punishment for everyone. Basically, she said that fines do not punish the wealthy. So that was her statement.
I mean, anytime you're taking money out of somebody's pocket, whether you're wealthy or not, it is a penalty. So I kind of have to. I don't agree with that argument there.
Oh no, I don't either.
Yeah, I mean, well, hold on. Just be prepared for a income-based fine schedule here for Delaware. You know, if based on your Delaware tax return, if you make over $100,000 a year, they're going to quadruple your fines for whatever. I don't know.
It just seems like almost every single area.
I hope I didn't give them an idea.
I think you did, actually.
Shoot.
Almost every single area of government. I mean, how many areas of government have we talked about where the low income people are being waived, or cost is reduced and is being passed along? All this is going to add up to significant increases for people who are right on the line. I mean, literally, what's the difference between someone making $30,000 a year and someone making $27,000 a year? One is eligible for all of the low income benefits and deductions, the other's not. And it just doesn't make sense to me, but they don't seem to understand that. But another bill that we heard in committee yesterday, Senate Bill 8, sponsored by Senator Pinckney, relating to probation and sentencing procedures.
Yes.
I know there were some issues with it. I kind of have my thoughts about the bill. It was reported out of committee, so it'll be headed to the Senate for a full vote when we get back in session. It appeared that the rub with DOC was it has to do with standard conditions versus special conditions. So I guess right now, anyone who is on probation is automatically required to do drug testing. Is that correct?
They're subject to it.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that that probation officers will actually order it. So
they have
a lot of
flexibility
times,
not to right now.
So a lot of times when somebody comes in and does their initial check-in, they'll drug test them to get a baseline.
Okay.
And, if they show that they have not used drugs, take a look at their history. There's nothing that's an indicator that substance use is going to be an issue. They may, do a pop test every now and then, but it's not going to be something that's regular. Now, if they come in for their first check and they see that, hey, they do have drugs in their system, that's a flag for the officers. That's part of the individualized plan for each of those individuals that goes into the system. That, okay, well, they came in and they had drugs in their system. This is something that we need to look out for as they go through their program here. And look, illegal drug use, using illegal drugs is illegal. Right. They're supposed to be on the straight and narrow while they are under supervision with probation and parole. So, taking that tool away from them, that they can't automatically drug test or they can't drug test on demand, is really taking one of those tools out of the toolbox to make sure that those people are actually correcting their behavior and doing what they should be doing in our society. Right.
Because if I heard them correctly yesterday, they can still do it, but they have to go through the courts to get it. So,
correct.
I mean, obviously, if you're suspecting someone of doing drugs and you need to test them in that moment, 2 months later they may be fine and clean.
And there's been instances too, and in talking to some of our probation officers that are out there, there have been instances where a family member will call the probation officer and say, my brother is using again. If something's not done to get him somewhere, he's going to overdose. And so the probation officer will they'll go out there, they'll do a home visit or a worksite visit, make them do a drug test, confirm that they have drugs in their system, and then do a violation of their probation and get them into a controlled environment where they don't have access to those drugs, so they can start the treatment type programs. I mean, it's not that they don't go out to the officers don't go out to try to create the violations so that people go back into prison. I mean, they want them off their caseload.
Yes.
They're trying to help them. A lot of times, if they're issuing these violations, it's because people aren't following the rules that are set forth. And if they can't follow some of these simple rules, how are they going to follow the big rules when they're back out there under no supervision?
Right. And that's one of the things that DOC said yesterday is that a lot of these people, they actually appreciate the structure.
Yeah. Structure is good because without the structure, you're free to kind of do what you want, and it might not be the right thing. Yeah.
So, SB 89, this bill did not make it out of committee. Senator Huxtable relating to credit card transactions.
Yes.
That bill did not go over well in committee.
No.
What it would require for purchases of $1,500 or less, the business could not charge more than what the credit company charges the business, which I think that's fair.
That's fair.
But the problem is for purchases over $1,500, the business have to accept credit card purchases for anything over $1,500, and they cannot charge any extra fees.
Yeah, which means that they have to eat the fees.
Yes.
Or bake it into their sales price, or however they're doing it, and that's extremely unfair for businesses. Especially when you're dealing with big ticket items or purchases, when you're dealing with some of the governmental entities that accept credit card payments for things like property taxes, for large scale utility payments and things like that. So no, I don't think that's a fair bill. There was a lot of concern with it from just about everybody.
Everybody. I think there was one support.
Yeah, I was going to say, what was the breakdown of that for and against in public
everybody
comment?
opposed. We had one speak in support.
Okay.
Yeah. So, that didn't make it out of committee. I'm not sure if it will or not. That's a little bit of a problem.
Yeah, I don't look. I'll be surprised if this bill moves forward. There was just too much opposition. I think there would need to be some amendments and some changes for it to move on. So we'll keep you posted on that if it does make it out. The DENREC fee package we discussed last week was sent around for co-sponsorship. So see, I was wrong on two things. I thought we wouldn't see it till next year. So we did go out for co-sponsorship.
Wow.
99.4%.
I know.
Yep.
Well, I better.
Going down.
We don't need to start a little ticker up there. Times that Deanna was wrong.
I'm wrong a lot.
Yeah.
All right, so the sponsors right now, as it is going out, I just think it's important that people know who the sponsors are. We have Representative Heffernan and Lambert and Senator Pardee. They're the prime sponsors. And then the other co-sponsors, Representative Phillips, Snyder Hall, Senator Sokola, Hansen, Hoffner, Poore, and Walsh. So they're the ones that have signed on right away. And, of course, it's out now so other people can sign on if they want. We will probably see it in the next pre-file is what I'm thinking. So we'll have a number and know who the total sponsors are. Do not think that's something we will support.
No, I don't see how. The DENREC definitely not. Some of those fees, again, they're going from $30 for, a permit to $20,000 for a permit. And, that those costs have to be passed to somebody.
Yep.
And, for our utility companies, for our towns and municipalities, the counties, that are going to be subject to these much, much higher permitting fees, that means us as the taxpayers are going to have to pay for them. So, I've got a lot of problems with it. There are a lot of new fees as well for things they never charged fees with before.
What did I say last week? 38?
Something like that.
Something. It was quite a few.
Yeah. So, this is going to be going through the process. I believe it's going out as a House bill, right?
Yes, because Heffernan is the
Heffernan, yeah. So it's going to go on the House bill. So we'll be able to see some of the discussion that happens over in the House before it even gets over to the Senate. If it does get over to the Senate, it's going to be a 3/5 bill.
Yeah.
Because it does fee impact. So, and to be honest, I don't know if it'll have the votes for it over there.
Quite possibly not.
Yeah.
Matt can't talk about this without laughing.
Well, anyway,
will they bring down at least the price of the surf tag permits? Is that in there?
I didn't look. I can't speak to that.
Yeah.
what is it now?
Will they bring down the surf tag permit, or at least waive the reservation fee now?
I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, see, that's the deal breaker.
It is interesting. So each week after we record these episodes, put them out, we usually catch a lot of feedback from folks, and I think that topic actually was what garnered most of the feedback.
Really?
Yeah. I received a lot of personal feedback from people calling me like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe those
And most
fees."
people, I think, laughed along with us at the absurdity that this fee package is.
Yeah. I mean, I will say it's not as bad as it was last year. Things have gone down quite a bit, but it's still pretty steep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll keep everyone posted on how that goes. So some good news. Today, the U.S. Senate voted 51 to 44 to nullify California's gas car ban. So it's awaiting Trump's signature.
Yeah.
Oh, how did our federal
Yes,
delegation
both of our
vote?
senators, Coons and Blunt Rochester, voted against repealing the
Really?
EV
Wow.
mandate. I know that shocks everyone.
Now it did start over in the House of Representatives. Do we know how Representative McBride?
I can only guess. I would say that she probably voted the same way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what does that mean then?
So
What
what
does
that
it mean for
means-
your bill?
What that means, look, if President Trump signs the bill, which I don't see any reason why he wouldn't sign
He
it,
will absolutely sign the bill.
he'll probably go to a GM plant or something like that and sign it there. That means that the waiver that allows California to do the Advanced Clean Car 2 is yanked. They can't do it, and since Delaware and the rest of the states rely on that California waiver and the California regulation, it means ours goes away as well. So I'm pretty sure California may try to sue to overturn that. I don't know how successful they would be with it. I mean, a lot of even the liberal news outlets are pretty much saying it's a done deal.
Okay.
But that means the EV mandate is null and void at that point in time. So I can strike my bill. I will happily strike the bill.
Should we
Yeah.
just get it on the? Let's just get it out there anyway. Have people
why
vote on
not?
it. Let's force the vote. Maybe we need to know how.
Hey, you want a committee hearing? Yeah, let's have a committee hearing. Why not? Yeah.
I'm curious. I mean, I wonder if Gavin Newsom would sue. Because, I mean, lately he's been trying to moderate.
Yes.
In
It may
anticipation
actually be the California Air
of
Resource Board. It might be the CARB that does the lawsuit the board
Okay.
itself.
Yeah.
I do think you're right, though, Matt. I don't think he would, for the fact that he's trying to appear moderate for a
Just wonder if
presidential
he
run.
might be like, yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it's one of those deals where they have a pretty good idea that it's not going to
Intern
get
Blake
through.
over there, what's...
No, she said a Gavin Newsom presidential run.
That is funny. Yeah, I
It's
know.
hilarious and also very stressful.
I noticed that I heard over there. I was like, oh, okay, what's going on? Yeah, that.
Does anyone actually buy that nonsense that he's like
No.
trying to move to the center?
Well,
I mean,
we
he's-
don't, but
I mean, he's had how long has he been in office? 6 years. I mean, 6 years as governor. Then before that,
Yeah.
So it's like, dude.
yeah. I don't think anyone's believing it. I think he's actually probably lost support from his base for moving in that direction. He should have just stayed where he was.
You don't think interviewing Steve Bannon helped him among his base?
Or Charlie Kirk.
Oh, interesting.
Has Governor Meyer said anything about how our representatives and senators voted on this?
No.
Because
Not
he's,
yet, yeah.
I mean, he's trying to kind of take us in the opposite, like the same direction,
Yeah.
based on some of the things he's said.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder, because usually they're kind of incouths. So.
Yeah, this is one area they are not.
Yeah.
They do not agree on.
Yeah. No. So we'll see what happens, but upon signature by the president, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are happy. And look, I mentioned it, I think last week. Even car companies like GM that were, they were all in
Yes.
on the electric stuff. I remember the Super Bowl ads that they had and all those things. They were pressuring, they were lobbying the Senate to pass this because, bottom line, they see that the consumers don't want it.
Yeah.
Sales, despite the rebates that were there and the financial incentives, they weren't moving off the lots.
Mm-hmm.
You had the initial rush of people that wanted it, and they got their electric vehicles. But after that, the sales have dried up. So I'm very happy about that. Very happy about it.
Oh, and I did want to bring up on another note, because we had asked on one of the other episodes what it costs to charge your vehicle, an electric vehicle. And I was talking to my son about it. He manages a college housing up in Newark, and he said that there was a student that charged his car, and it was adding about $75 to $80 a month to the electric bill. So it was more than what I thought, because I think we had thought like around 35 or so.
Yeah.
So that's.
Yeah,
it's
so
still cheaper than gas. I get it.
It is. But
But you're
again,
paying $20,000 more up front for the vehicle.
well, you're paying $20,000 more up front, plus you're paying in time as well.
Yeah.
If you're on a road trip, instead of taking the few minutes to fuel up and go and get a drink and hit the bathroom, you're sitting there for an hour or more waiting
Right.
for your car to charge. And for a lot of people, time is important. I was just thinking, of those parents that are on road trips for their kids, for all the sports stuff. Yeah. Having to add in that extra time to charge.
Yeah, and you have to be so disciplined with making sure you plug that car in every night. What happens if you forget? You get up the next morning and your car's dead.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be bad. I guess probably after a few times you wouldn't do it, but
maybe.
Maybe, I don't know.
And what if your electric goes out? There's just so many things that could go wrong.
I did hear, and I haven't been able to verify it yet, but there is a car dealer somewhere in the region, and I'm not going to be any more specific than that, that their insurance company would not renew their insurance for their building because they kept electric vehicles in the showroom.
Yeah.
And they were all electric vehicles that they sold. And their insurance company said, we can't insure you. We don't want to take the risk because of the possibility of a fire burning down the building and destroying the rest of the vehicles that were in there.
So that's clearly a question homeowner insurance policies are going to start asking at some point.
I would think so, and that's probably something that's going to lead to a piece of legislation here in this building that says they can't rate their homeowner insurance based on ownership and charging of an electric vehicle inside.
You're giving them a lot of ideas today, Brian.
Hey, I'm trying to generate content here, so we can talk about it. Then we can say, hey, look, on episode 8, we discussed it. So we'll see what ends up happening with that. But we are seeing those insurance companies that are seeing that risks now. Yeah, that are associated with it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I meant to say this at the beginning of the episode, but have I been nicer to you today?
You've been fine.
Okay, because my husband, he's been watching every week, and he said, you're really rough on Brian. You need to be nicer to him.
So you took it out on me prior to the episode, is what it was.
Peyton, of course,
I was wondering why you were crying.
It's tough working here, man.
Peyton did not agree. She thinks
I'm fine. Yeah.
I just thought that was funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just assumed
Yeah, I'm
you have broad shoulders, right?
I think we were too mean to Peyton.
Yeah.
Someone came in. I'm so bad with names, but someone came in here and they were like, "Were you the girl they were making fun of about the dating?"
That's hilarious.
That's what I'm known for.
Okay. Sure. So are there any updates? Do we have a first date update or a second date update?
I've been here every day since.
Okay, well then, now that we're going to be on markup break, there's your chance to actually start swiping and
I'm going on vacation, actually.
Hey.
Oh yeah,
never.
Oh yeah, listen to this.
I'm going to Disney World.
Are you?
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure what kind of eligibility will be done.
Hey, you never know.
You never know.
We'll talk about that on the podcast.
It could be another 20-some that's on a family vacation that's like, oh, I don't want to be. Oh, hey, how you doing? How you doing?
Do you want us to go with you and see if we can?
If you want to go on vacation, you can just,
Yeah. So is there anything else legislatively we want to talk about? That's all I had on my notes.
No, I don't think so.
I don't know. They all start running together when we get these breaks, especially towards the end of May and when we head into June. It's just the agendas are long. The committee meetings are long.
Mm-hmm. They are long days.
I'm sure we'll start seeing consent agendas in a couple weeks, probably.
Right.
And for those that don't know what a consent agenda is, it's where they put multiple bills on one agenda.
On one, and it's one vote.
It's one vote, so, and they're all bills that everyone can agree upon.
Mm-hmm. So the rule here is that anything can go on a consent agenda, but if any one member has a problem with any one of those bills or resolution on a consent calendar, then that can be pulled off and voted on separately. And that when we get into the later days in June, things get thrown on, and then somebody has a valid concern about a bill that maybe as a group we didn't have, they'll stand up and ask that Senate Bill 385, and we never get up that high. That's why I'm saying that number be pulled from the agenda. They'll pull it, and we can debate it and vote on that separately. And sometimes it still ends up being unanimous. Mm-hmm. But after the questions are asked,
they just want to hear the debate.
Yeah. So we'll probably be introducing a lot of terms as we get into June.
Yes.
Must lists.
Yeah.
And the consent calendars, consent agendas, things like that. Just kind of explaining, when you see things on the agenda online, what they actually mean and what we're actually doing here as we get closer to the end of session and time starts to run out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now they won't be as long as say next year.
Next year,
generally the first half of the General Assembly is not as crazy. Second half, obviously, if bill doesn't pass and signed in law, that just dies.
Yeah. Right. So I mean, I know we have a lot of people that know what's going on here in legislative law and know the terminology, but I think we have some more people that are getting interested in what we do here and may not know some of the insider baseball terminology that we use on a day-to-day basis in the building. So we'll try to explain things as good as possible. Oh, how about if we bring up DFAC?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah. So
what is DFAC?
For those who don't know? So DFAC is the Delaware Economic and Financial Advisory Council. That is a council that is appointed by the governor through an executive order. So Governor Carney, starting with Pete DuPont, governors of
Republican
governor, they have instituted DFAC as a way to give the state, the General Assembly, the governor's office, projections of what our revenue is going to be and take a look at what our projected expenses are going to be based on spending, based on the budget bills that are out there. So DFAC met on Monday.
Yes.
And
you sit on DFAC.
And I sit I'm a member of DFAC. But you have economists that are on there. You have some people from the University of Delaware. You have other lawmakers. It's a wide-ranging membership of DFAC. But we met on Monday, and our budget projections increased by 90.
It's close to $100 million.
Yeah, it's closing into $100 million, more than the previous DFAC, which was in March.
Matt is always amazed at how they just find money.
Yeah, so we found money. Now
I wish I could find $100 million.
It's like a leprechaun. You just find the pot of gold.
Right?
Yeah.
Now the interesting thing is, so DFAC meets on a regular basis throughout the year. It's actually up $433.6 million from last June's DFAC, and we always use the June DFAC to pass the resolution so that we can balance the budget that needs to be. We can only spend 98% of what our expected revenues are. We can only allocate that in the budget. So we use those projections to kind of lock in the number. So from that June DFAC that we used based on the 2025 fiscal year, we're up $433.6 million.
But don't worry, they're going to spend it all.
Although it's already spent, probably.
As soon as we got the report today, we had how many bills with fiscal notes on it?
1, 2, 3, 4, 4 bills, 5 bills with fiscal notes on them.
So nobody worry, they're going to spend it.
Yeah, they'll find a way to spend it.
Love spending your money, taxpayer. Yeah.
But again, that $433 million, and some of it's additional revenue from the current fiscal year that we're in now, and next fiscal year. So anything we don't spend rolls over into next fiscal year, and gets added to the revenues for next year. So an extra $430 million that we didn't think we were going to have last June.
What that tells me is that we need to do some tax breaks or something because we're clearly bringing in too much money. That's what it says to me.
We are. I mean, tax breaks would be nice. It would be nice to see some of those things happen for Delawareans instead of creating new tax brackets to collect more money. I mean, we don't have a revenue problem in Delaware. We got a spending problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure, somebody want to revisit the building expansion, maybe.
That has been thrown around.
Oh,
did you see the email?
I did.
Today?
I did.
Yeah.
So that is being. I don't know. I don't have any inside information as far as whether or not that will move forward or not. But I will say that there are some offices in this building who need expansion much more than we do. I definitely think we don't feel the pinch as much as some of these other offices do.
We've got quite a few buildings here, where Tatnall building, I mean, there's probably space in Tatnall building that we could use to expand.
Let's just take over Tatnall, can we?
We could. I mean, we could legislate. We could put it in Epilogue Link, which we can do whatever we want.
I'll start drafting that bill.
Then build a tunnel from there.
The governor doesn't. The governor.
Garage, and then build a tunnel.
Yeah, we'll do two tunnels.
Just do it. Yeah, there we go.
Since we're all about tunnels in this building.
So
I was never in favor of the tunnel.
No.
No.
I was not either.
Yeah.
So
it was an interesting idea. I will say it was an interesting idea, especially if the public would be able to use it.
Yes.
And I think when it was first brought up, there was let's provide a place for the public to be able to come over as well. That you don't have to worry about crossing the street. You don't have to worry about the traffic and stuff like that. Especially if we're going to have people that are able to park over there, rather than all around the green area at Legislative Hall or Legislative Mall area. But for a legislator only or staff only type tunnel, that goes way too far.
I completely agree.
Yeah. What else we got, Matt? Since this is your podcast,
It's not anymore.
You got to share the spotlight now, Matt.
That's all right with me. That's all right.
at least the spotlight's charged or it's plugged in.
Did we actually go over that after that happened? I don't know.
No, did we re-record it?
No, I don't
No,
remember.
we didn't. No, we kept
We just
recording.
kept going?
Yeah, I know
We just
because I was
powered
very
through.
worried
Yeah.
about the
Yeah,
lighting.
you sound very upset.
Yeah, I actually think the lighting looked better when the light went out.
Oh,
If
really?
I'm being honest, yeah.
Okay.
For me, anyway.
Well, all right. Well,
And that's what matters.
Yeah.
I mean, it would
Thank you,
be
Peyton.
one less
Because it is your
thing
podcast.
clunking
Yeah.
up the office if I were to take it away.
Yeah.
But
So schedule. We're still going to do podcasts next week and the week after, even though we're not in session. Just kind of covering what's going
Matt
on.
is looking at me like, "Are we?"
well, I think the plan was. I don't think this was ever given to you, but you did just kind of announce it. Well, Deanna, why don't you explain the plan?
I had thought that
Boss.
maybe.
I'm in the dark here, so
Well, I
I'd like
thought
to know what the
maybe-
plan is.
Maybe we skip next week and then we do the following week because we'll know what the agenda is, and then we can discuss the full 2 weeks of joint finance committee that will be meeting. But hey, you're the boss, so you make the rules.
Look, for me, I think consistency is key. I think we need to keep plugging through with something every week, even if we talk about, the pavement markings on the circle at Georgetown.
Yeah,
We can talk about that next
we
week.
can talk about all kinds of stuff next week. Maybe
Yeah,
we
we
just
could.
maybe we take a step away from politics and just talk about some fun stuff.
Yeah.
But I do
what's
have-
up?
I'm not here.
Oh, that's right. You'll be in Disney.
No,
now.
what we'll expect though are pictures of what's going on. Any kind of update in terms of dating. Pictures of the
Just FaceTime me while you guys record.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
We
can't
could
you
do that.
virtually? Yeah, she can join virtually,
yeah,
right?
we could do that.
Mm-hmm.
You can
Yeah,
do
from
like
that-
a.
Matt's
Yeah.
like, oh, how would
She
you do
can
that?
record-
From like Space Mountain or something. You should
Okay.
phone in.
She can be Johnny. Y'all watch Jesse Waters? She can be Johnny out at Disney, and she can walk around and interview
Yes.
people.
That's great.
You
I
would be
like
great
that.
at that.
I like it.
We'll talk.
Peyton's like, no, I'm on vacation. I'm not doing
Yeah, I'm planning on drinking around the world. Okay? So it depends on
that
what
would
time
be
you
fun.
call me at.
that would be fun.
Got it.
Live from
We'll
Epcot.
allow.
Right.
Okay, we'll allow you to record them and send it to us. How's that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, instead of live. Okay, that might be something we
Yeah.
could do. Only if you want to. I don't want to mess up your vacation.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Okay.
You let us know. Yeah. So I do want to end with one thing that really irritated me this week. Hillary Clinton, I don't know if you saw this, that she was asked a question at some conference about if she had a message for the first woman president. And this is what she said. This is her words exactly. Well, first of all, don't be a handmaiden to the patriarchy, which kind of eliminates every woman on the other side of the aisle.
Wow.
Yeah, so you can imagine how that irritated me.
Yeah.
I think I don't understand the thought process because I don't think for 1 minute that every woman on the other side of the aisle,
Our
that
side
they're
of the
all
aisle.
this.
Our side of the aisle.
Well, no, I'm talking about on the other side.
Oh.
I don't think that they're all one. I don't paint them all with a broad brush and think they all think the same. They all do the same. They're all unique women who have, I'm sure they all don't agree on every single thing. And that's a thought process that sometimes I don't understand. Why is it that they think that we all think exactly alike? And I mean, I'll say this, as far as that, the patriarchy, I'm sure they're referring to probably conservative men. Do you think that's what she's referring to?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely.
So this building, we have 4 caucuses. Okay, I'm the only female chief of staff. I'm just going to put that out there, and I work
you
for
are.
Yeah.
And
what
majority
they
of our
would
staff-
consider the patriarchy.
Yeah.
And majority of our staff are
Yes.
also women.
Matter of
too.
fact, yeah, I think Matt, other
Is
than
the
our
only-
interns,
yeah.
is the only male.
He is.
And I'm going to say this right now. You don't take any crap from us.
I
either.
don't. I do not. I do
mean,
not feel like I'm being led around by the patriarchy
No.
at all.
I mean, you.
Except our podcast schedule, apparently.
Yeah, I guess so. Because we're going to do it this way. But no, I mean, it's we rely on you to kind of watch our blind side and to tell us when you think we're doing something wrong or when we're not seeing the whole picture.
Yep. And I'm very direct.
Yes, you are.
And I always tell you.
Yeah, you're more direct here since we started the podcast.
I think she was referring to Dr. Jill Biden as well, because many people are saying she voted for President Trump.
I don't know. That red outfit she wore on Election Day, it does make you think.
I don't know.
Come on, when you work in politics, let's just be real right now. We know what an all red pantsuit, that sends a message. Do you think I'm going to be walking out on Election Day in an all blue pantsuit? It's not happening. Because I know the message.
Depends on the issue sometimes, I think.
Does it now?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Hold on a second. I've got to bring this up because we talked about it. And I just saw this and almost lost my stuff. So if you haven't seen it, maybe you can post a link to it. The little roundabout symbol that they're using leading up to the circle in Georgetown kind of looks like a question mark.
I have seen that.
Yeah. Well, one of my colleagues from the House, actually my direct colleague over there, Representative Spiegelman, just said the Georgetown roadway, formerly known as Prince. Because it kind of looks like that symbol. Yeah. So, we'll have to talk about the circle and the markings and
we'll
the arrows.
We'll have to put up some
pictures.
Like you do some videos so people know what we're talking about.
Yes. Yep.
Or we could report live.
Well,
on
if you
the
go
circle.
if you go to Senator Pettyjohn's Facebook page right now,
there you go.
It is on his page.
Yeah.
And it sounds like we actually got it changed.
Yeah.
Or you got it changed.
Yeah.
Help get it changed.
Help get it changed. Yeah. I mean, it was.
I did. I got it.
I was.
Deanna.
I was pretty firm with the Secretary of Transportation how I did not like that, and how just about everybody in Georgetown and around did not like that.
I'm from Georgetown, and it has definitely been the talk of the town.
Yeah. Yeah. I think was it on Gaffney this morning?
It was.
Yeah, Gaffney was talking about it. So hopefully, maybe tomorrow's Friday. Maybe I'll stop in and see him tomorrow morning down at his live broadcast and talk about the roadway formerly known as the Circle.
He'll think that's funny.
He will. Yeah.
I like how we just ticked off one of the topics for next week too. One less thing to talk about.
Yeah, we can still talk about it once it's done.
Matt doesn't want to do it without me.
We will miss you. We will. It won't be the
telling
same.
you, that switcher saved me about 4 hours of editing.
I told you.
Well, I mean,
But
now
if
that-
I'm not here
Again,
to
Brian was
operate
right.
it-
now that
Yep.
we got it fixed. Or not
What do you mean fixed?
Not fixed, but
You had the
we
right
figured
cords
out, is
for
what
it.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
But if
Once-
I'm not
once
here
we
to
figured it out.
operate it,
I mean, plugged into the right place?
Yeah, thank you.
You're
Actually,
welcome.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
That was pretty funny.
It was. Anyways.
Matt worked forever to try to get that computer working and that switcher working, and he could not do it. I said,
Yeah.
ask Brian. He's an IT guy.
Yeah, Brian's
Brian
like, oh,
comes
you
in,
just plug it in right
yep,
here.
and it started right up.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm glad it could help. I'm glad I'm part of the team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Yes. Yeah.
All
Certainly.
right. So I guess it sounds like it's on for next week. So, tune in next week. We'll keep you guessing. I don't know what we'll do. Maybe
Probably
on-site
there's a
somewhere.
greater than 50% chance we'll be on next.
Great.
Hey, then maybe we'll do this. Maybe it'll just be you and I, and we can bring in somebody else, and then Matt can do the switcher.
But Matt is part of us. I don't know.
Whatever. I don't
He'll
care.
still be part of the team. He'll have the microphone, the spare microphone.
Okay.
And we can actually hook another camera up there.
Could get our policy director, Christy, to join
Yeah,
us.
that is the perfect person.
That is great.
Let's do it.
You tell her.
I will. I'll tell
I'm
her.
scared.
You're scared?
Yes.
See,
She won't like it.
So if anyone thinks there's a patriarchy going on over here, it's not, because these Republican men are scared to death of us women.
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah.
Because we know you. All right.
That's all I've got.
All right. Wrap it up. for us,
I
Matt.
think that's all I got. Again, you can find more information about our caucus at DelawareSenate.com.
That's right.
Or Senate GOP at senategop.delaware.gov.
TikTok.
Find us on Facebook, TikTok,
TikTok's the best
Instagram.
Snapchat.
And we're not on Snapchat. We were for
No.
like 5 minutes, but it kept
Oh.
coming up
Yeah.
as Matt Revel, and so like I had
Yeah.
a weird influx of all my contact list following me, even though I don't know, it was weird.
Okay, we're on that.
So anyways, and that was actually a bad idea, I think, in hindsight. But I don't know what we post on Snapchat. Actually, it would have been perfect for you when you're out there at Disney. You could have been.
Yeah, Snapchat is for like the young kids.
Well, so it's TikTok, but
Nah, it's different.
young kids. In
I
China,
won't give my opinion on what I think Snapchat is, because I might offend people.
Yeah, it's starting
Yeah.
to veer into
Okay.
weird
Okay.
directions.
Anyway.
We're also on Threads. Don't follow us on there. I never post on it. But anyway, we are probably...
that was a fail.
No, I just want to say I think we are probably the most accessible caucus within the General Assembly in terms of the amount of social platforms that active social platforms.
Active, yeah.
And a lot of
You
that
guys do a
credit.
great job.
I know we poked fun at you last week, Peyton, but no, a lot of that is also Substack too.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Yeah, starting to post a little bit more on that as well. Link to that will be in the bio because I cannot remember it off the top of my head.
All right.
Okay.
But anyway,
Well-
thank you, Peyton. Is what I was trying to get at, despite all the fun that we poke at you.
And thank you to all of you too. I mean, from the people that actually have to go out to the voters and convince them to vote for us. We're able to do what we do because of all of you. I mean, and we've got a rock star staff here in our caucus, and I appreciate you guys and what you do every single day because you make our jobs a whole lot easier. So
You're welcome. We love what we do.
enjoy that vacation.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Well, before my camera batteries die, which that one looks like it's getting ready
All
to,
right.
we will more than likely see you next week.
Okay.
Definitely the week after, but if not, maybe I'll put a compilation or something out.
Okay.
Well, who am I kidding? We're going to see you next week. All right. Thanks.
See ya.